Hello and welcome to Sojourn's Perspective and Plans for the Cookieless World. So as you may have heard, Google is officially sunsetting third-party cookies in 2023, but this is nothing new for the digital advertising ecosystem. The Apple browser Safari and Mozilla's browser Firefox have already made the decision to automatically block third-party cookies a couple of years ago. So what does a third-party cookie do and why is it being blocked? Well, third-party cookies enable online advertising that powers the open web and free content. So they enable cross-site tracking, ad serving, retargeting, and they measure the effectiveness of campaigns. So obviously, if you're a travel marketer advertising online, this is a major change and it will definitely impact your strategies. But this all sounds like a lot of doom and gloom, and it's not all bad. So I want to highlight some of the challenges of third-party cookies and why sunsetting them may not actually be such a bad thing for the future of advertising. And I'll do that through three key pieces. So the first piece is privacy. Without a doubt, privacy is the #1 issue with third-party cookies. For a long time now, users have voiced concerns and frustrations over the privacy it provides, as well as control and choice with third-party cookies. So Google, as well as, of course, Apple and other browsers, decided to take it a step further and make the web more private and secure, hence the decision to have a third-party cookieless internet. The second piece is cross-device retargeting. Cookies are device-based, so they can't help you target and track across multiple devices on your ad campaigns. Personally, I use a ton of devices, so I know this would be a big problem advertising to me, which in essence means we cannot do people-based marketing, and that's getting in front of people with the right message on whatever device they're using. So the experience is not as good for the consumer or for you as an advertiser because you're potentially wasting budget. We will take a look at what that new ecosystem will look like to make this experience better here shortly. The third and probably most obvious piece is that cookies can be blocked. They're already blocked by Safari and Firefox, so this is already presenting a challenge to get in front of some of these travelers when we're advertising. So you are probably asking, if this already happened with a few browsers, why does it matter to me now? The most important thing is that 64% of the global web traffic comes from Google Chrome right now. So quite simply, when this change officially happens on Chrome, getting on board with the rest of those browsers, all strategies that utilize third-party cookies will be obsolete. This is why some of you have probably heard that bleak phrase, the death of the third-party cookie, because it's going to mean the death of some of those advertising strategies as we know them today. So I will say that one more time. Over half of the web traffic is on Google Chrome, and with the sunset of third-party cookies, your advertising strategy as a travel marketer has to change to accommodate this. Now is the time to prepare for the next generation of advertising. So getting on board now will ensure that you're prepared for what we're calling permission-based, privacy-compliant marketing. So other big businesses in travel that are already beginning to prepare for this transition are going to see better performance and optimization and targeting capabilities when third-party cookies go away. But the really big, awesome part of this is that these strategies I'm going to discuss can improve your performance today. In fact, major retail brands and even some travel leaders are already engaged in these best practices. So destinations like you, your hotel and attractions partners, you all have to adjust those strategies if you want to continue driving visitation and direct bookings. So with that, let's talk about what you can do to prepare. But first, rather than get highly technical and into the weeds, I want to look at this from a high-level context in a way that might be more familiar to you. So let's use an example of how retargeting works today using third-party cookies to help you understand why this change is so important. So let's say I'm considering a trip back to California, and this may or may not be true, but I want to check out San Diego and I'm unsure of what I want to do when I get there. And I really need that extra push to decide whether this is my final destination. At this point, all I know is I'm really excited to get out of the house and travel again. So after some initial searching, I find the Visit California website and I surf around for cool things to do and restaurants to check out. Now, meanwhile, on the behind the scenes end of this, a pixel on the Visit California website records the search. It's stored in a third-party cookie, and then that's placed on my browser. So I leave the website to book my flights. Boom, I'm excited. I'm coming to California, but I'm not entirely sure what I want to do when I actually arrive. So that is where the third-party cookie comes in. Thanks to retargeting campaigns, third-party cookies can track me and serve ads to me later. So later on, I'm browsing around, looking at the scores on ESPN, checking the weather, and I'm served an ad that prompts me to return to the Visit California website to learn more. I click on that ad naturally. I head back to the website. I jot down some things to do. I download a travel guide, maybe sign up for your newsletter, you name it. But again, this is all thanks to the role of third-party cookies. So Sojourn has been thinking long and hard about how we can help provide travel marketers solutions for this big issue, combating the sunset of third-party cookies. And of course, we've had plenty of time to do so. So we don't have time to deep dive into all of them, but I will touch on just one of them for now, and that is hashed emails. And this is basically the new third-party cookie. And it's a term you're going to hear a lot more of in the future. It is essentially the new identifier for consumers online, or what we're calling a digital passport, and it will be used to continue retargeting. So hashing is really simply a form of encryption that protects privacy, and it's done a couple of different methods, but the most prominent way to do so is through SHA-256. I don't want to get too technical here, but SHA-256 is basically a hashing algorithm to make an email address pseudonymized. So for example, my email, christy@sojourn.com, would become a string of completely unrecognizable characters. So the good news is that any company that uses this hashing method, SHA-256, as I shared the most prominent one, will generate the same string of characters. So in short, hashing my email through this method will always generate the same characters. Right now, Facebook and Google are using these hashing methods, so I think we can assume it's a pretty sound method. What you're gonna see on this slide is an example of how hashed emails work. So the first step is the hashed email is captured, and there are two ways to capture hashed emails. The first is through a traveler logging in, or in the case of your partners, completing a booking on their website, and that information is passed through a pixel. The other option is through offline bookings passed back in a batch file to hash. So of course, the main piece here is you're going to ask for the consent to use that email for the advertising we're discussing. We want travelers to know that their privacy is protected. And then after the email is captured, in this example, from that online ecosystem, they're logged in on the website, it's hashed. From there, Sojourn, or whichever partner you're working with, would create a traveler profile, which again is privacy protected. And you are then able to use this email to serve ads and optimize. So it is the same ecosystem as before, just through hashed emails. Now, hashed emails work together with first-party cookies. I want to explain the difference between first and third-party cookies to alleviate any confusion. So the cookies that live on your website that you own to collect data about activity happening on your website only are first-party cookies. So as you can imagine, they are not a privacy concern because they are identifiers that are used to understand activity on your website. So it is important to note that while third-party cookies are going to go away, first-party cookies are not. So first-party cookies are used to remember user preferences and passwords. I think of it like going to Amazon. When you return to the site, you don't have to log in. Bonus points, they have my cart still full, easy checkout. So the main goal of capturing those first-party cookie IDs and hashed emails is to associate them together. So this then lets us track all current and future user activity on your site without that user ever having to log in again after the initial hashed email capture. So while you need to capture that email at first, once you have it, the user no longer has to log in when they come to your website for you to target them in the future, which is a great deal for advertising. So now that we understand hashed emails, I hope my explanation was even relatively clear enough to get us there. Let's circle back to that site retargeting example and look at how it will work in the future with hashed emails. So same story as before. A traveler visits your website. A pixel then captures the first-party cookie ID, and that's, again, the ID that you own on your website. The traveler is either prompted to log into the website, or in the case of your partners, they complete that booking with their email address. The email is hashed and shared, of course, with their consent. A traveler profile is created via the first-party cookie and hashed email, and then voila, retargeting ads can now be served and optimized anywhere that the traveler is browsing online. So last piece, most important piece, the traveler sees your ad, they come back to the website, they learn more about your offering and your amazing destination, and eventually, next thing you know, they're coming to visit you or making bookings with your partners, thus driving that fantastic economic impact. So let's add a final layer of context to explain how the experience is a bit disjointed today, but it's going to vastly improve in the future with hashed emails and what we call people-based marketing. So let's start with what the challenges means for the consumer today. So by not being able to retarget across device, the current retargeting experience is disjointed. So let's think about this in terms of your local partners and the ads that they serve to drive bookings to their website, because I think it's a bit easier to understand when we think in terms of a booking. So let's say you're a hotelier in Bali. A prospective traveler is interested in planning a trip to Bali. So she's on her commute home from work and she's browsing on her mobile device and she's just kicking off her research for a hotel in Bali. She then winds up on your website, but she doesn't book because she's still in that research phase. So obviously from the advertising perspective, you are now going to drop her into that retargeting bucket for your hotel on her mobile device. However, the next day, this consumer, she's back at her desktop and she's wants to revisit all those hotel options in Bali. She goes to Google, she starts her search all over again. And this time, again, she's at work on her desktop. So she finds your hotel again, and this time she actually completes a booking. Amazing, right? We got the booking. She's coming to Bali. Now, except in this example, because third-party cookies don't work across devices, the mobile device does not know that the consumer just booked on desktop. So the next time that she's back on her mobile device, cruising home from work, looking on her mobile phone, she's going to get served an ad for your hotel again in Bali that she's already booked. So clearly that's a big ineffective use of your advertising dollars, but it's also a really poor consumer experience. I think for me, every time I've been served an ad again for something I've already booked, I don't understand how they're not sophisticated enough to understand that that booking's already been made. But it's not on the advertiser. It's a part of the old ecosystem. So I call this example out to highlight that while retargeting as we know it today is super effective, it does have its shortcomings. And the silver lining to third-party cookies going away is that future solutions will address some of these shortcomings and enable people-based marketing that spans multiple devices. So on that note, let's look at the experience in the future. So the experience between desktop and mobile will no longer be disjointed because hashed emails will enable us to retarget based on the person, and you'll officially be able to cross-device target. So now, a traveler searches for your hotel in Bali. First, they're on mobile, then they switch to desktop to book. And the next time they're on their mobile device, guess what? They will not be retargeted with an ad for the hotel they just booked because they're going to be served an ad for something to do in Bali. In this case, it's snorkeling. So the great news for the destination is that we're maximizing that economic impact because we're getting consumers not only to book hotels before they arrive, but also engage in ads for things to do before they arrive. Obviously, this is better for the advertiser, you and your partners, and the consumer. The advertiser saves money by not wasting dollars advertising to somebody who's already booked a room. And the consumer's experience is improved because they get to do awesome things, see awesome things to do in the area. And I know for me, I get so excited when I get to think about my trip by being served an ad for where I'm going later. And they don't have to see an ad for a hotel they've already booked. All of this to say there are some things you can do now to prepare for this big change coming in 2023. And we want to help you get set up for success right now. If you don't, you will see a dip in visitation and your partners will see a dip in bookings. So first things first, implement a login on your website. Think about offering options for visitors to star different attractions that they like when they see them, see relevant content to them when they log in. You've got to find a way to incentivize those logins by thinking of things that get travelers excited to come to your website and log in. The next thing is you really want to set yourself up to collect emails, newsletter signups, guide downloads, the like. Any touch point where you engage with the traveler, find a way to get that email and build out a big database of emails. Of course, getting consent to do so. Third thing, my favorite, we are all about going multi-channel at Sojourn. You've got to test other channels. As I mentioned, travelers are on a vast array of channels all the time. They're browsing, they're getting travel inspiration from social media. They're searching on Google. They're going over to Hulu later at night through connected TV. All these places are opportunities for you to engage with them with your amazing destination. And I also want to remind you that search engine marketing, also known as PPC, and connected TV do not rely on cookies at all. So it's a great way to get started on these channels if you aren't already. And it will definitely help bridge that gap later. Of course, video and social media are great ways to advertise your destination too. It's just really important to know that display advertising will likely be the most impacted channel when the cookieless world comes, as it heavily utilizes third-party cookies and retargeting. So diversifying onto these other channels I mentioned is going to help you see continued success. And what better time to do it than now and boost that performance ahead of time. The fourth piece, rely on real-time data to support your campaigns, especially that intent data to drive those prospecting efforts. I know oftentimes we hear that working with a retargeting vendor, you might have a hard time collecting some of that rich intent data. So keep data a major focus in the cookieless world to get in front of the right travelers at the right time. Number 5, talk to those vendors, see what their cookieless plan is, especially if you're running retargeting. You want to make sure that they have plans in place to support you in the cookieless future. 6, and final tip, work with a partner to help you navigate this. These changes are crazy. I mean, we know at Sojourn, we've got a whole team of people trying to navigate this. So finding a partner that can help you understand it better and let you focus on what you do best, winner for everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. That is all I have for you on the cookieless world in a brief 15 minutes. And I hope you didn't bite off more than you could chew today. Cookieless, pun intended. Please lean on Sojourn for cookieless support and learnings. That is what we're here for. We have focused so much of our energy and efforts on this over the past couple of years. We have an entire webinar series that's dedicated to helping our customers navigate it. It lives on our website. We've got the link here, and it's helped you learn all the ins and outs with some of our subject matter experts and customers sharing their perspective. My name's Christy Jobman. I too have been studying all things cookieless world for at least a year, and I'm so happy to answer any questions that you have to help you navigate this change as well. And with that, I am going to leave you with my favorite exit quote, and that's the way the third-party cookie crumbles. Thanks so much for joining us today.